we now know the Charlie Kirk text messages are real. Candace Owens dropped those texts yesterday, and the internet exploded, showing Charlie Kirk in a group text chat saying that he lost another $2 million donation from Jewish-backed group. Here, I'll just read it. Just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. And someone in the chat says, ugh. Charlie then says, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause, he says. So reports were, of course, coming out that he was pressured. He was under enormous pressure. The sort of pro-Zionist crowd, of course, came out and said, that's a conspiracy theory. Didn't you see Benjamin Netanyahu just jump on television and tell all of us that Charlie loved Israel? They literally put up billboards across Tel Aviv, by the way, saying how much that they love Charlie Kirk. I was wondering, who's funding that, by the way? It's really interesting. They even built sandcastles on the beaches in Israel. There were like Charlie Kirk sandcastles being built because they just wanted to show how much that, Netanyahu and Charlie were friendly, I guess. But apparently Israel and Jewish donors were pressuring Charlie Kirk. They wanted to say that he loved Israel. Netanyahu went on a big PR campaign after Charlie Kirk was shot. Turns out, I know for a fact that Charlie Kirk despised Benjamin Netanyahu. That's confirmed. And he was getting enormous pressure from Israeli donors. Well, we now know that those text messages are 100% real because Andrew Colvett from Turning Points, who was in this group chat, just said, yes, they are real. Watch.
Started this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because, that was a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic. And I want to go into it because I actually am really excited that the truth is out there.
Yeah. Wow. So they're real. All the people that were like, these are faked. Okay. Well, confirmation.
Well, now the narrative is, it doesn't matter. And she'll prove that she was right. And that makes her crazy. Right. Because she was right. Okay.
So, anyway, those texts were just days before Charlie was killed and before his death. Charlie warned on his show about the Jewish donor influence in America. Watch.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like, time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me.
Well, last week, journalist Nick Stout discovered that influencers being paid $7,000 for every positive pro-Israel post they make. Here was that reporting. Israel is paying influencers $7,000 per post. And well, this week we learned that Israel plans to spend $4.1 million on marketing to save its reputation in the United States, according to the Jewish Telegraph Agency. Most of the marketing will be aimed at American Christians. Well, we want to bring in Nick Stout now and to talk about this. He's the one who broke that $7,000 per post story. He joins us now from Responsible Statecraft. Nick, great to see you. Incredible reporting on all of this. And I know you just launched another story today that you just broke that says Israel wants to hire Chris Pratt and Steph Curry to target Christian evangelical churches for support. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And then we'll kind of backtrack a little bit and go into some of your other reporting here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, thanks so much for inviting me on. Clayton and Natalie, great to be here with you. Yeah, so this was actually part of that same contract for Christian outreach. All of those celebrities are Christian celebrities who have been outspoken and were identified by a firm that was pitching a contract to the Israeli government as potential spokespeople to deliver and this is a direct quote, to deliver pro-Israel messaging. And, you know, the celebrities themselves have not been reached out to. I reached out to all of them just out of curiosity, and a couple got back to me. John Voight's PR person said that that she wasn't sure if he would consider a contract like this, but that it was certainly, she seemed to indicate that it was certainly on the table. But yeah, these celebrities are part of this massive PR blitz that Israel is undertaking, and this is just the latest iteration of it. This is the same contract, by the way. I know you guys covered this, I believe in yesterday's show. It's part of the same contract that this firm, Show Faith by Works, is undertaking to geofence Christian churches all across the Western United States. And they're also even, it's a massive contract with a bunch of different line items. But another one that I find is kind of interesting is they're buying a bunch of mobile trailers. And they're going to be taking these mobile trailers across the Western U.S. And they're calling it the October 7th experience. They're going to be highlighting the atrocities of October 7th. But also as part of this, they're going to be featuring footage of IDF soldiers talking about their experience. And so all of this is part of this, this Christian outreach.
And how do you think Christians will receive this? Anyone who understands it? I mean, it's clearly that there's a desperate attempt to regain Christian support for anyone over 30. They still have a stronghold, according to the recent New York Times poll, that there's still a stronghold in Trump supporters, specifically older ones. But this younger generation, it's almost like the Streisand effect. Like they're trying to make it not be transparent, and it's painfully transparent. So I think that Christians, it seems very offensive to target Christians in this way, but do you think they will see it that way?
I think in particular, younger Christians will likely see it very, very differently, right? I mean, I was curious because in the contract, part of the justification that this firm, Show Faith by Works, that they mentioned for the need for Israel to undertake this contract was to combat low approval rates of Israel among evangelical Christians. And I saw that and I was a little bit confused at first because I was like, well, hold on a second. You know, evangelical Christians have been one of the most steadfast supporters of Israel historically, and they continue to be so. But then I looked a little bit further and I noticed that there's actually a decent amount of polling that has suggested that younger evangelical Christians have departed in support for this ironclad U.S.-Israel relationship and have started to question that relationship further. So I think that it's particularly targeting that generation, you know, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, you know, younger people that, you know, will maybe they're forced to go to church by their parents. And the second they get in there, though, their phones and, you know, their mobile devices are geofenced, and they get tracked and targeted with these pro-Israel ads. So I think that, you know, it's particularly targeting young Christians and young evangelical Christians at that.
Can you talk about some?
You mean? I'm sorry, I don't think I understood that. So once you go to church, your phone is tagged as someone that they need to. Goodness.
Well, that's what I was just about to ask.
And
Like,
they spell it out very explicitly.
Can you talk about the mechanics of that specifically, Nick? Like, so how do Christians know, like, is their church one of these targeted Israeli churches? Like, this is crazy to me. Like, on Sunday, you're going to go to church, and I don't know what church you're going to, and you suddenly find out you're starting to get, like, pro-Israel ads because your church specifically has partnered with this, and they're receiving funding from the Israeli government. Like, can you talk about the mechanics of where that money is coming? Did the church sign off on it? And they're making their parishioners now, like, digitally tracked by Israel?
Yeah, those are great questions. So it's not immediately clear to me that the churches themselves would be aware of this. It would take a ridiculous amount of outreach to, you know, if people are curious, you know, if their church, just to answer that first question, if people are curious if their church is part of this, you'll have to dig through a boring document, but there is a long list of churches. It names every single church that is, in theory, targeted by this. And what they say is that major churches, I'm going to read from the document because I think this shows you how this works. Major churches in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado, and all Christian colleges during worship times will be geofenced. The actual physical boundaries of those churches will be geofenced. And then it says that they will be tracked, the attendees of the church will be tracked and continue to be targeted with ads. So that's how it works. And it's the same way, if you have your location services on, that data just gets sold, and you don't know necessarily where it goes, right? It's the same way. It's the same reason why if you're within, say, a mile radius of a AT&T store, you might get an AT&T ad. It's the same mechanics that work for corporate marketing in that way.
I mean, imagine they took away TikTok for the express reason that the Chinese government should not be able to track you.
Which was a lie.
But we know for a fact now that an Israeli push is to track American Christians. And our government is fine with that. In your reporting, don't you say it's non-denominational Christians mostly? And evangelicals.
They single out evangelicals, but really again, if people are curious, first thing you can do is disable your location services if you don't want to be tracked. That will hopefully ensure or at least mitigate the risk of you being tracked. But if you want to be extra sure and let your community know, you can go to this list of churches and I'll try and send this document to you guys so you can make sure to get the word out there. But there's a long list of churches. It even details the size of the congregations, the states, and
we'll put a link in our description.
How do they know this?
If you said that, what's crazy to me though, Nick, I guess what I'm just confused by, you said, I think you said, if I understood you correctly, these churches might not even be aware. So
I would be very surprised.
Who's doing it on their behalf then? You know what I mean?
If geofencing, you don't need to, right?
Right, but you think, right? I mean, but if I don't know, hey, we have a redacted guest. They come into our redacted studio, and I have nothing to do with it. But suddenly, then they're receiving pro CNN ads. We're trying to sway you to stop watching Redacted. We want you to watch CNN. Wait, I have no say in that. You're just running ads based on my geolocation because someone came into the redacted studio. What?
Yeah, I mean, I hope to do some follow-up on reporting, and I'd be very curious if communities in these places are aware of it. But yeah, in essence, that is how it works. I mean, they say that they're working with, different pastors, and it seems like they have quite a few allies at a lot of these churches. But, the list itself it goes on and on and on. And I'd be very surprised if the pastors at each of these churches would be aware of this. I mean, it would be such an undertaking if that were the case.
Philip, our technical director, has a question for you. Go ahead, Philip.
Yeah. So I'm listening to this, and I'm just wondering, if they're targeting the youth, the people that are most likely to see through what's going on, and or the people that are not likely to see what's going on are going to be older generation Christians who are already pro-Israel. So, I guess at the end of the day, what is the point? I don't understand how they're trying to influence younger people who are more likely to see through that it's influence, and then it's going to be less likely to succeed.
I mean, I think it's a great question. I think part of that, the goal, I think, is partly to win over the swath of the population that they've lost. I mean, there was a Gallup poll from July that found that only 9% of Americans were supportive of Israel's military action in Gaza, aged 18 to 34. So they're trying to win over that population, but they're also trying to maintain, I think, the levels of support that they have from the evangelical community. But I think you're right to doubt the efficacy of something like this because, they're kind of throwing everything at the wall. I mean, they've, in the last month, and maybe in some combination of a lot of these tactics, they will find some success. But a lot of it strikes me as kind of desperate in a way. I mean, in the last month, Israel has hired 6 different firms to work for them under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And this is just one of them. I mean, they're also paying influencers. They're also trying to create websites and digital content to train ChatGPT. They're trying to integrate pro-Israel messaging into a number of media networks. And so, it's just one of many things that Israel is trying to do. Israel last week increased its public diplomacy budget by $40 million through the end of this fiscal year, which was an increase on top of the $150 million that they had already appropriated. And so it's clear that this is something that they feel threatened by. They feel threatened by the fact that a lot of people, are questioning this historical relationship and are beginning to see things differently. And it remains to be seen whether it'll work or not. I have my doubts over some of it, but a lot of it is it's a combination of these kind of like old guerrilla internet warfare tactics and new ones. Like I think the one that jumps to mind is the fact that they're training ChatGPT. I mean, that strikes me as something new, something that it's a new way of trying to manipulate the flow of information that we don't even really have a way of measuring the success of yet. But because people are increasingly using generative AI chatbots like ChatGPT, like a search engine like Google or Bing. I don't know if anyone still uses Bing, but Bing, they clearly want to reach those audiences, people that use it in that way, that ask questions like, is Israel committing war crimes? If next time you go to ChatGPT, it might tell you a different answer because they have a firm working on getting pro-Israel messaging into OpenAI.
That's crazy.
Now, I just want to make this comment, and I don't know if you have a response to it, but as you're talking about this effort to track churchgoers and Christian goers, it occurs to me that it's a really good time to do that because one of the responses to the death of Charlie Kirk was people going to church. People have overwhelmingly decided that they need to commit to some kind of spiritual journey, and a lot of them have followed his lead into Christianity. So it strikes me as convenient to track Christians at a time when they are super motivated. What do you think? And I know that that's not in your documents. I'm just asking you to respond to that before we let you go. It's been a fantastic interview, and I really appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's an effort to meet people where they are. I mean, I find it a little bit cynical, the fact that a lot of people are looking for answers. A lot of people, are showing up on Sunday because they, for a number of reasons. People go to church for so many different reasons that are very personal to them, right? And the fact that you would be targeted in this way by a foreign government that is very destabilizing actor in a lot of ways, that the UN has come down and said that a UN commission has said that it's committing genocide, all of these things. The fact that you would be targeted by a foreign government in that way while you're trying to get, worship is, I find deeply concerning. Like this firm even, like they get it down to the number. They talk about how many churches there are, how many church goer attendees they estimate. For instance, they give an estimate of something in the realm of 5 to 10% of churchgoers will engage in their activities in some way. How do they come up with that number? I have no idea, but it's concerning to me that people are just trying to worship, and then they're getting targeted in this way on their mobile devices and all of these different ways.
Gosh, I mean, we have a separation of church and state because our government doesn't care that Israel would do this. We don't have a separation between church and foreign state. Yeah. That's wild.
Where's the outrage of members of Congress? I mean, our interview yesterday, General Mike Flynn, like he was posting about it because this is shocking. I think most Americans don't know it. So we need more journalists like you doing this incredible research, Nick. Thank you for your incredible research. People should go to Responsible Statecraft.
Yeah, you guys are killing it lately.
Yeah, doing incredible work, Nick. Great to have you here. And as this story progresses, please come back. I'd like to investigate some of our local churches here in Colorado and see if they're even aware of this at all, and if their parishioners even know that this is being targeted. So,
yeah, put up a placard when you walk into church.
You're
turn
being
off your
tracked.
phone.
You're being tracked by Israel.
Yeah,
just by going to church.
Right.
Yeah. Nick, great to see you.
Like
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
For
Scan your QR code and get your free trip to Israel and get $7,000 a post. Like it's crazy times we live in. Anyway, Nick, thanks for hanging out so long. We appreciate it. Great reporting. Visit him over at Responsible Statecraft. We appreciate it. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you. Take care.